Hey man, Shane here. I'll go through exactly how strong you need to get to look amazing, but I want to quickly cover why strength standards work so well, why they're by far the best way to improve your appearance. It's not even close. It's because our aesthetic preferences are millions of years old, formed in the primeval crucible, back when we were hunting and fighting and conquering, back when being physically capable was enormously important. And it was so enormously important that we became incredibly good at gauging how strong a man was just from looking at him. That's why muscle looks so good, because it signals that we're stronger, more virile, and more physically capable. That means there are two ways you could approach this. If you're interested in aesthetics, you could put strength to the side and focus purely on gaining muscle mass. And if you gain that muscle mass in a way that makes you look genuinely strong, then it will look great. There's a trap though. It's perfectly fine to care about aesthetics to a certain extent, most people do, and it's also perfectly good to work hard for it. It doesn't need to seem effortless. People respect guys who work hard to accomplish their goals. What people don't like is when you try to fake it. In this case, with muscle is supposed to be a symbol of strength. Strength is the thing that's actually cool. So if you try to build the muscle without the strength, then it can feel fake and it won't look good. If it looks like you're trying to optimize your proportions to improve your appearance, it can come across like you care too much about how you look and too little about what you can do. It can look vain, and looking vain doesn't look good. And it can also seem like you're trying to trick people, like you're trying to give off an impression you haven't earned, like you're trying to seem strong without being strong. You get this weird situation where trying to look better can sometimes make you look worse. I go deeper into that in this video about the V-taper. And so, perhaps counterintuitively, I think the most straightforward way to improve your aesthetics is to focus on getting genuinely stronger. Instead of guessing at which muscle proportions would make you look stronger, you can focus on actually getting stronger and let your body fill in your proportions. If you approach it that way, you won't slip into an uncanny valley by forgetting to train something important. For example, if you're deadlifting and your lower back is the weak link, then your lower back will get more of the growth stimulus when you deadlift. It will start catching up. And now that you know that it's a weak link, you can help it catch up by adding in extra exercises for it, like back extensions, helping to break through that strength plateau, making you genuinely stronger, which is what looks good. Or maybe deadlifting is hard on your grip, making your forearm tendons hurt, giving you sore inner elbows. Now we know that we need to strengthen those. We can ease back on the deadlifts, and we can add in some heavy wrist curls. That means that by getting strong at a big exercise like a deadlift, you're building the sort of genuine overall strength that gives off the impression of genuine overall strength. That gives you your foundation, and you want that foundation to be wide. You want to be strong at all 5 of the most important movement patterns. That will get you pretty far, but it won't get you all of the way. The coolest, most aesthetic physiques aren't the ones that are perfectly balanced. For example, let's look at a calisthenics guy like Chris Heria. He lifts weights and he squats and he's strong overall, but his arms and back are way bigger than his legs, and that's on purpose. He spends his days with his feet dangling in the air. Bigger legs would only weigh him down, and that's totally fine. You could argue that it looks imbalanced. I wouldn't. I'll cover that in another video. But even if it did look imbalanced, it doesn't look dysfunctional or unhealthy or fake or vain. It looks specialized. It gives his physique an edge. It makes it different from other people's physiques. It gives him towering peaks rising up from a balanced foundation. That's how I like to think of strength standards. Almost everyone benefits from having that same wide foundation, and almost every expert agrees on what that foundation should look like, especially if they've worked with a large number of clients over a great number of years. That's easy. I can tell you exactly how strong you need to get to look good and balanced, and almost everyone will agree on it. And then I think it also pays to build towers that rise up from that foundation. You don't need to be great at everything, but you should definitely be great at some things. And if you like this hobby of lifting, then I think you should get great at some aspects of lifting. I'll give you some more impressive strength standards you can gun for, but this is also where you can break the rules and profit from it. Strength standards go deeper than all of this too. Training to get stronger is also the best way to build bigger, rounder, denser bones. If we compare the thigh of this sedentary 70-year-old against the thigh of this more athletic 70-year-old, look at the difference in their bones. This athlete's bones are beautiful, and that inner beauty radiates outward. Your muscles and bones talk with each other. When you build stronger, healthier bones, they tell your muscles, we got this, we're strong enough, you can grow bigger. And your muscular potential expands, allowing you to gain more muscle more easily. And the same thing happens in reverse. When you load your muscles heavily, they tell your bones to grow stronger. Same with your joints and tendons. That's why the old athlete's thigh is so beautiful on every level. Even if your goal is pure bodybuilding, your bones will eventually become the limiting factor. Your body won't build more muscle beyond what your frame can support. And getting stronger is the best way to build a stronger frame. You also get the psychological advantage of getting to focus on what you can do instead of how you look. Your inward gaze turns outward, and most people prefer to be around other people who have outward gazes. So now you're stacking up all these halos on top of each other, from your psychology to your bones, to your connective tissues, to your muscles, to your skin. I don't think I mentioned it, but your skin gets stronger too. Now you become like that guy who sells hats, except instead of hats, you have halos. There's a lot of nuance to all of this. I'm sure you can think of a few reasons why I'm wrong, or why it wouldn't work for you, or of an exception that breaks the rule. And I've got my qualms with what I've said so far too. I'll get to that. But first, let me show you what this looks like. The most famous bodybuilder of all time, Arnold Schwarzenegger, built his foundation by powerlifting. Same with Ronnie Coleman. But those guys are packed full of steroids, and looking like you abuse drugs obviously doesn't look very good. It gives off a dystopian cyberpunk sort of vibe, not that feeling of an barbarian running across the primeval savannah. They're bad examples, let's put them aside. Jeff Nippard built his foundation with powerlifting. Eric Helms did too. Alex Leonidas is a strength beast. Landon from Basement Bodybuilding started off as a powerlifter. Vitruvian Physique had great overall strength. Solomon Nelson does too. I covered him in the V-Taper video. David Lade is famous for his aesthetics, and he built those aesthetics with power building, a mix of powerlifting and bodybuilding. And then it starts getting more interesting. Usually, when people bring up an example of a natural lifter who breaks the rule, they bring up Geoffrey Verity Schofield. I spoke with Jeff before making this video, and he's the perfect example of the nuance we need to get into. So let's start getting into it. Let's start with the basic foundational strength standards. Almost every expert agrees on these, especially if they've worked with a large number of people over a great number of years. That's why they're considered the strength standards, because they're standard. The first one is the overhead press, one plate. That's a 45-pound barbell with a 45-pound plate on each side, giving you 135 pounds, 60 kilos. When you can press that amount of weight overhead with good technique, then you'll have a good foundational level of strength in your shoulders, traps, triceps, and postural muscles. Plus, to be able to overhead press, you need to unlock great shoulder mobility and core stability. That's the other side of what these strength standards are measuring, your ability to move properly and stabilize your postural muscles under load. Next, the bench press. 2 plates, 225 pounds, 100 kilos for your chest, shoulders, and triceps. Arguably the most aesthetic of all the exercises, but I'll save that for another video. I should also point out that different people have different genetics, so strength looks a little bit different on everyone. It isn't that when you can bench press 2 plates, you'll look exactly the same as other guys who can bench press 2 plates. It's more that your pressing muscles will look about as strong as other guys who are similarly strong. And that's perfectly fine. The goal isn't to look like another person. The goal is to become a bigger, stronger, and denser version of yourself, drawing people into your growing gravitational pull. Better to get to the point where other people are trying to look like you. Anyway, the squat. 3 plates, 315 pounds, 140 kilos for your quads and glutes. At this point, I should point out that you're allowed to swap any of these exercises for similar exercises that suit you better. If you're going after aesthetics, you might want to swap the back squat for a front squat because it does a better job of building mobility and bulking up your postural muscles. Front squats are about 20% lighter than back squats, so you'd aim for a 1 rep max of 255 pounds. And you don't necessarily need to test your 1 rep max either. An estimation is fine. In this case, you could front squat 2 plates, 225 pounds for 5 reps. That's roughly equivalent to back squatting 3 plates for 1 rep. But you'll be squatting to a greater depth and you'll do a better job of stimulating your postural muscles. The deadlift, the biggest of all exercises, my personal favorite. 4 plates, 405 pounds, 180 kilos for almost every muscle in your upper back, and your spinal erectors, and your hips, and your hamstrings, and your grip. Probably the second most aesthetic exercise. If conventional deadlifts don't suit you, you could try this narrow sumo stance that we like. Both variations are equally competitive in powerlifting, so the strength standard stays the same. You could also do trap bar deadlifts though, and those are usually at least 10% easier. So you'd aim for 4 plates for a set of 5 reps. Chin-ups or pull-ups, 10 reps from a full dead hang to build muscle in your lats and some of your upper back muscles and your biceps and your core. The chin-up is special because, unlike the other exercises, it rewards you for being leaner and lighter, which brings up the issue of body weight in general. Some people are tempted to factor their body weight into the strength standards of every exercise, and naturally thinner guys are lighter, so that temptation hits us harder. But we already have an advantage with body weight exercises and with cardio, especially with things like running. And the best way for us to improve our health and appearance is to bulk up and get stronger, as strong as other men. If you're overweight, using multiples of your body weight would punish you, but that's backwards. You're bigger and heavier, and when it comes to strength, that's an asset on everything except for these body weight exercises. Body fat is stored energy, and you can invest that energy into getting stronger. It's like having a fanny pack full of energy that you can use whenever you want. This is a good opportunity to enjoy being heavier. The body weight multipliers are supposed to be for short guys, but the way short guys balance out being shorter is by being competitively strong, regardless of their height. I have a video on that here. On the note of cardio, you could put cardio in here too, like being able to run 10 kilometers in under an hour, but that isn't really a strength standard, so it doesn't belong in this video. When you can hit these strength standards, you'll be as strong as guys who look strong and athletic, like Jeremy Etienne. Last I saw, he was bench pressing 245 pounds, just over 2 plates. And that's enough to make him a physique icon for millions of people, with one of the most successful muscle building channels in the world. This is the sort of strength you tend to see from Hollywood actors who bulk up for movie roles too. If you think these standards aren't impressive enough, that's perfectly fine. I wanted to become stronger than this too. But if you've got a nice foundation of strength like this, you'll look pleasantly big and strong in the eyes of almost everyone else.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to work up to 100 pounds in each hand. And they're going to be low reps, going to be 6 to 8 reps per set, 3 sets of 100.
When I surveyed men, after 5 years of lifting weights, only a third of them could bench press 2 plates, and only a tenth of them could deadlift 4 plates. That means by the time you're hitting these basic strength standards, you're probably stronger than most of the other guys at your gym. Virtually all men are capable of hitting these standards, and 5 years is more than enough time to do it. But most guys get their newbie gains and then they get stuck at an early intermediate level forever. These guys are in pretty good health, they go to the gym, they eat well, and they look relatively athletic. It looks pretty good and it feels pretty good, and nobody ever bothers them about their bodies. I think that's why they get stuck. Being an early intermediate is comfortable, and that comfort can rob you of your hunger. I do recommend going heavy. I think there's value in spending some time doing 3 to 8 reps per set, especially on the big exercises, and especially for bulking up your bones, especially if you're trying to get your bones from very dense to extremely dense. But you can do these exercises in any rep range and then plug what you're doing into a 1 rep max calculator. That will give you an idea of how strong you are, and more importantly, how much progress you're making. That's the real value of focusing on strength. Every time you do one of these exercises in any rep range, you'll know how strong you are and you'll know if you're getting stronger. If you're doing our Outlift program, the program we designed to help guys accomplish these goals, then it will calculate your 1 rep max down here at the bottom of the workout sheet so that you can see how you're progressing with the program. I'll link the program in the description. It's our intermediate hypertrophy program with a focus on strength and aesthetics. It's designed to help you hit these specific milestones. We've tested it on hundreds of guys over the past few years, gradually refining it. It's a really good program. I think you'll like it. Or if you're using Macrofactor Workouts, it was designed by Greg Nuckols from Stronger by Science, a world record powerlifter, and it builds in a lot of these same principles. It tracks your estimated 1 rep maxes here on the homepage, and then it throws some confetti every time you make progress on them. If you want to try it out, you can get an extended free trial with the code B2B. Here's where things start to get interesting. I was talking with Geoffrey Verity Schofield about this idea of building a wide foundation with a towering peak, and here's what he said. Yes, 100% agree about that wide foundation, tall peak concept. Basically, don't have any weak points that are overly glaring, then have one or two kind of freaky muscle groups. Basically, don't let the eye be drawn to anything clearly deficient, calves, adductors, forearms, rear delts are common ones, and then have something special. I'm lucky in that I have kinda absurd triceps, quite high trap insertions, as well as a very small waist. In other areas, I wouldn't say there's anything exemplary or unusual about my physique, but those three are enough to carry the team. What's interesting is that Jeff has a 250-pound bench press, 355-pound squat, and 450-pound deadlift. He's easily beyond all of those foundational strength standards, and there aren't any glaring weak links. But his bench press is only 5 pounds heavier than Jeremy Etienne's, and look at how different they look. That's where people get confused. The first thing to pay attention to is which muscles are big. Jeff isn't known for his chest. His pressing muscles aren't the ones carrying his physique, and he isn't a powerlifter, so he hasn't been specializing in getting better at the barbell bench press. Instead, he bulked up the areas he was more interested in, giving him a physique that looks more unique, and earning him quite a lot of respect for it, especially among advanced lifters. It's incredibly rare to see a body that looks like this. He's gone beyond fitting in, and he's found a way to stand out. That's why it looks so cool. There's a genetic component to it. His arms have the genetic potential to be huge, but he's also leaning into those genetics. I think I remember him saying that he spent a couple of years doing 2 arm days per week while bulking up to well over 200 pounds. And when you combine those genetics with that intentional emphasis, and then you add a great work ethic on top of it, you can get something iconic. I think that's the best way to build on your foundation. You're already strong enough to be muscular and healthy in a balanced and functional way. You've already done the responsible thing. Now you get to build on it however you want. To put it another way, you don't need to be amazing at everything, but it does help to be amazing at something. So, once you've built a strong foundation, it can pay to go after a couple of more advanced goals. With lifting, the classics are barbell curl, 1 plate, overhead press, 2 plates, bench press, 3 plates, squat, 4 plates. I should point out that the squat is amazing. It's a great exercise. It's important for a lot of reasons, but it isn't particularly aesthetic. I can cover that in another video. For the purpose of this video, if aesthetics is your goal, then I might not go after squat excellence. And if you do, you might want to go after front squats instead of back squats. Front squats are better at developing the postural muscles, upper back and serratus anterior. Those are the muscles that are more likely to have a positive impact on your appearance. Deadlift, 5 plates, chin up, 20 reps. Most men are genetically capable of hitting all of those strength standards, but almost none of them do. In my surveys, even among guys who had been lifting weights for 10 years, less than 1% of them had ever bench pressed 3 plates. It's a rare and impressive level of strength. That's why so many influencers show it off. That's why you see it so often on social media. That can create the illusion that it's normal, but in reality, people are showing off the way in which they're special because they're proud of it, as they should be. If you're still new to lifting, I recommend our flagship Bony to Beastly program. We'll teach you how to do the big exercises properly with the equipment you have and in a way that suits you. And we'll show you how to train heavy in a way that's safe and great for your bones and tendons. And we'll show you how to fill in your workout program with all of the other exercises you need. And we'll show you everything else you need to know about how to gain muscle and strength and improve your body composition too, with personal support and feedback along the way. If you already know how to do all of the big compound exercises, then I recommend our Outlift program. That's the program that will help you hit all of these foundational strength standards in a healthy and safe and aesthetic way. It's a barbell program though, so you need access to a barbell. You're also free to go beyond the foundation, even if you haven't hit all of the foundational strength standards yet. We have an arm specialization program with 2 arm days per week, and our latest program, the one I'm doing right now, Barbarian, is a health and aesthetics program with a focus on pressing exercises. So it's amazing for building a bigger bench press, incline bench press, and overhead press, or whatever variation of those exercises you prefer. It's also great for your arms, shoulders, neck, and forearms because those muscles are so aesthetically important. I'll talk more about that in another video. All right, that's it for now. If you liked the video, thank you so much. If you're subscribed, thank you even more. I'm happy to answer any questions in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next one.